Other times not. I'm not sure what the secret is. But all right, so our mission statement, constant pursuit of excellence in delivering all the stuff that we deliver, right? The people, fire, EMS, rescue, all that. Another thing that I think's a value of ours is that we have a culture of safety. And so throughout the year, like to look at different training sessions where we're talking about things to help our folks stay safe on the job. In the past, that's been like looking at NIOSH, line of duty death reports, and contributing factors that go into that. And so if you guys are looking for something to train on, that'd be another good idea, is to pull up one of those NIOSH line of duty death reports and review that. But for this training session, we're going to look at NFPA's 2019 firefighter fatality data. So what killed our firefighters in 2019, and that's the most recent version that they have. And we'll spend probably about the same amount of time reviewing our incident rehab and medical monitoring protocol. Spoiler alert, because there's a lot of firefighters that were killed from sudden cardiac death, overexertion, etc. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. From 1997 to 2019, what do you think of the trend there? You happy with that trend? As far as number of fatalities, we're going in the right direction, aren't we? Yeah. Yeah, that's right, until last year. Okay, we'll talk about that. So 2019, 48 firefighters died in the line of duty in the United States, a sharp drop from the previous 5 years when the deaths averaged about 65 per year. So it's the first year that the annual total has been below 50 deaths, like as in ever, since they started keeping track, recording. When I say they, I mean NFPA at least. So I did look at 2020 numbers, and according to this Firefighter Nation website, there were 96 fatalities that they reported. So this isn't official NFPA stuff, but so the previous year, 48, last year, 96. So it about doubled. And of those, there was 35 of them that were from COVID-19. So 35, about a third of the firefighters that died in 2019 were from COVID-19. 2020, excuse me. Yeah, and this doesn't include the 343 deaths from 9/11. So we're going to spend quite a bit of time right here on this slide. I'm going to read to you about all these different categories and the cause of deaths from each of these. So I'm going to jump into that now. Station 1, you guys feel free to hop in here and make comments or ask questions, whatever you want. All right. Okay. Thumbs up. All right. Let's start in this non-fire emergency. So bottom left, there were 9 firefighters that died from non-fire emergencies. Of those, 7 were operating a motor vehicle. 1 was at a medical call, and 1 had responded to the report of a smell of gas. 2 of the 9 suffered sudden cardiac death, and 1 suffered a stroke. So I'm going to kind of be making a point to really emphasize these sudden cardiac arrests, because we're going to be seeing that over and over and over. 9 firefighters were killed responding to or returning from alarms. Hang on. I think I've skipped something. All right. Yep. Sorry. Let me back up. 2 were struck by passing vehicles. 1 fell from an elevated roadway. Are we ever in situations where we could be struck by passing vehicles? Yeah, absolutely. What comes to mind? Yeah, crashy smashes on the super slab. You bet. Interstate highways, US 50, where else? Yeah. Do we ever provide any service to our customers when we're not rolling wheels down the road and sitting on the side of the road somewhere? Maybe so, but 99.9% of the time we're getting out on a roadway to go deliver our service, right? I say it to the new guys all the time in Rookie Training Academy. I think getting in a vehicle and starting it and pulling it out on the apron, I think that's one of the most dangerous things we do here is driving our vehicles. So please don't ever get complacent when you're driving somewhere. Yeah.
Somewhere there's a video out from probably 10, 12 years ago. Our old Rescue 2. Some of you guys were here, I guess. Got smoked on the interstate right after our guys got out of it.
So, yeah, Captain Hebert was talking about that yesterday. He was on that call. I don't remember who he said his partner was, but yes. Yeah, and he was maybe brand new too when he.
Officer Yoder had to run for his life on the ice there, otherwise he'd gotten smoked.
On that same call?
Yep.
Yeah. I will never forget being on the interstate and having Chief Willis grab me and yank me back towards the vehicle. I don't know how close I was to getting hit, but I might have got smoked if he hadn't grabbed me and pushed me back because somebody was, driving way too close to the scene. And that was on Interstate Highway. Okay, so again, we're talking about non-fire emergencies. So we talked about what? 2 were struck by passing vehicles. 1 fell from an elevated roadway. 1 stepped on a down power line and was electrocuted. The firefighter who was on a medical call was shot and killed by any guesses? Patient. Yeah, shot and killed by the patient. So that's a whole nother discussion topic, but complacency on EMS calls, scene safety, where are the patient's hands, where are the family members? So yeah, scene safety. And the firefighter who responded to the call of smell of gas was, the firefighter who responded to the call reporting the smell of gas was killed and 6 others were seriously injured when a propane gas explosion occurred. Okay, so another category, responding to and returning from alarms. So this is bottom right, the green one there. 9 firefighters were killed in that category, marking the 3rd consecutive year in which the number of deaths in this category was 10 or fewer. So they keep putting these little positive things out there, but still 9 firefighters killed responding to or returning from. 5 of these suffered fatal cardiac events. So there we go with our theme of the day. 2 were killed in motor vehicle crashes. 1 was struck by a vehicle, and 1 firefighter fell from the cab of a responding apparatus as it turned at an intersection. So it flushes these out even further later on. I won't read through that, but it did say that the firefighter that fell out of the cab didn't have a seatbelt on and his door wasn't completely latched. Luckily, no. But I mean, what simple thing could have prevented that? Just having a seatbelt on, right? Yeah, and closing the door all the way, but yeah. All right, next category, 5 deaths occurred during training activities. So the bottom one there, 10%. Sudden cardiac death, believe it or not, claimed the lives of 4 out of the 5. 1 firefighter died of heat stroke. One of the victims had been the instructor at a RIT drill. 1 was involved in vehicle extrication training at the fire station. 1 firefighter passed away overnight while attending a conference. 1 firefighter, a recruit, was participating in search and rescue training at a regional training center. The firefighter who died of heat stroke was engaged in a training hike. Again, they break these down a lot further on in this document, but these folks that are dying of cardiac events, most of them have serious underlying health issues to begin with. So they have coronary artery disease, they're overweight, hypertension. I mean, they've got some other comorbidities going on. So at our department, are we doing a good job of paying attention to that? Our folks' health, their fitness levels? Are we doing a good enough job? What could we be doing better?
Not doing nothing. You got a fitness standard. You got to do a couple different assessments and participate in health insurance. There's another test that comes with that. We're not doing nothing, but it just depends on how far you want to take it. You could look at meals. You could have a tobacco policy. It's just how far you want to go. You could have mandatory PT, but I wouldn't necessarily push too much of that.
Personal choice versus city policy.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. The discussion is personal choice or setting policies, mandatory workouts, things like that. Chief Robertson talked about tobacco, trying to get rid of tobacco. And yeah, I think if that happens, it'll probably come from the city, maybe not from our department, but I don't know. That's just another thing to discuss. And I didn't mention that earlier, which, good grief, I can't believe I forgot that. But what are two big categories that aren't listed on this? Yeah, suicide's one of them. Suicide in the fire service. What's another big killer of firefighters that's not listed up there? I guess I haven't gone through them all yet. Huh? Cancer. Yeah, cancer is another one. So let me talk about cancer and suicide for just a second. I'm kind of bouncing around here, aren't I? Suicide, according to Firefighter Behavioral Health Alliance. Wait a minute. Oh, look at there. Never mind. I'll get to that in a minute. Let me finish up with this chart here. Then we'll talk about cancer and suicide. Where were we at? Okay, we did training. All right, training activities. The remaining 12 firefighters in 2019, a variety of normal stations. So this is other on duty. Is that right? Is that the one we're missing? Bouncing around too much. All right, variety of normal stations. So administrative, maintenance activities. 6 of these fatalities were due to sudden cardiac death, 1 to a stroke. While firefighters were working around the station, one fire chief suffered a sudden cardiac arrest at a funeral of another firefighter. One firefighter suffered sudden cardiac death after conducting a pump test. At the training facility, one firefighter who had been diagnosed with PTSD died by suicide at the fire station. So again, these are deaths that occur while on duty. One firefighter was killed in an explosion that occurred while firefighters were preparing fireworks for their community's holiday fireworks display. One firefighter driving from one station to another for an overnight shift was killed in a motor vehicle crash. So, yeah, that's always, all that stuff is so sad when you think of how it could have been prevented, which is why we're talking about it. All right, so let's get back to talking about cancer and suicide. So this is 2019 numbers. according to what I found online, 130 firefighters died of cancer in 2019. 119 firefighters and 20 EMTs committed suicide in 2019. All right. So let's talk briefly about cancer. We have a cancer initiative here. We talked about it at the training today. Appreciated you guys grabbing up the wipes and wiping your necks and hands and all that off. And I assume everybody came back and took a shower after that live fire training. We're going to wash our gear. There's other things that we can do cancer prevention wise. And a lot of that is maybe going to the doctor, having your labs drawn. Thomas was you were talking about this on Monday. We talked about it again yesterday, and Chief Butler was saying, as long as you can get your doctor to order labs, it should be covered by insurance. It shouldn't, but it's easier for me to say. I didn't have to pay $500 or.
He made it sound like it was a good idea, and then I got hit with it. But I don't want to discourage other people from going and doing it. So
Okay.
I might have been the exception.
All right. Does everybody know that the city covers the cost of an annual physical? I mean, you don't have a copay if you go for an annual wellness check. Is that what it's called? It's just basically a physical with your primary care doc. So they'll cover the copay. And while you're there, if you can talk the doc into ordering some blood work too, I think that's a good idea. Anybody, Station 1 guys, any comments on that? Do you guys go for annual physicals? I'm seeing some heads moving around, but that's about it. I know. I'm going to make poor Trevor get up and.
There was no's around.
Okay. All right.
You can find a doctor.
All right. Well, no big deal. 130 in a year. That's not too bad.
No.
That was sarcasm, of course.
Oh.
All right. So suicide. I really, again, I appreciate our folks picking up the ball and running with our peer support program, getting Impact in here, letting us meet those ladies. And I think we have a number of our members that take advantage of that, and that's great. I did find when I was digging around looking for suicide numbers and different things, I found a screening tool for firefighter EMTs, and I'm gonna read through these questions, and I want you to be thinking about your coworkers. I mean, and Captain Hebert said this a lot. He said, the best thing we can do is build relationships with the people around us and pay attention to how they're doing. And if they're changing, if something's changing, talk to them, and don't just leave them alone and leave them in isolation. And talk to your buddies, talk to your coworkers. So here's the screening tool. These are the questions, and there's 16 questions. Are you feeling like a burden to your family, friends, or a fire company or EMS organization? Do you feel the world would be a better place without you in it? Have you started to isolate yourself from others in the firehouse or EMS location? How about at home? Have you found yourself turning to alcohol and other addictive behaviors to make yourself feel better? Have you or someone close to you noticed that your sleeping patterns have changed? Are you thinking, what's the use when going to the firehouse or responding on calls? Do you find yourself thinking about or performing unnecessary risks while at the fire scene or on emergency incidents? Have you found an increased or new interest in risky activities outside the firehouse, like skydiving or reckless motorcycle riding,
That has nothing to do with it.
or purchasing guns?
That's just, what? Better to do it again.
Are you displaying unexplained angry emotions, or have you been disciplined recently for anger towards other firefighters? Have you been told
Assholes.
that you have changed by friends, family, coworkers? Does your family have a history of suicide? Does your family have a history of depression? Do you have feelings of hopelessness? Do you feel like killing yourself? Have you created plans to kill yourself? Have you recently attempted to kill yourself? So there you go. There's some things to keep an eye out for yourself or for your coworkers or even family members. I think you guys know 2020 was a really rough year on substance abuse and suicidal ideations and all that. So good time to.
You guys on Medical Center Drive, medical unit room 166, responding on a 30-day-old male. Caught his breathing and alert. Stable and ready now for transfer to Westlake for higher level of care due to dehydration. I'll have an NG2 that will be lost.
Your microphone over there works really well, station one. All right, I'm going to kind of move past this one quickly, but I just want to point out firefighter deaths by cause. Look at that: overexertion, stress, medical. I mean, that's over half, 54%. And so that's what we're going to start talking about when we get into incident rehab medical monitoring. And this one just breaks it down by age. So median age 46.5, but there's a pretty significant jump there from the 41 to 50-year-olds, and then of course over 60. There's quite a few. This doesn't break it down by volunteer or career, but it's about 50-50, about half and half volunteer.
Like 70% of the service is still like volunteer in the nation. Around that.
And Lieutenant Dick, did you have anything to add to that suicide piece, the mental health stuff? Do you have anything to add to that?
No, you nailed it. Good job.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Any thoughts about age groups? This is about, I've read where they suggest, I think it's 45 for firefighters to really start being intentional about preventative health stuff, going to your doctor annually, sticking a finger in the back door and all that.
That's it.
All right. You guys are very quiet. There's all the comments. No? Okay. All right. Let's get into this SOG 40-75 incident rehab and medical monitoring. So when are we going to implement rehab? Glad you asked, you chatty group. After we complete the use of 2 30-minute SCBA bottles or 1 45 or 60-minute bottle or 40-minute work cycle without the use of an SCBA bottle. So at that point, we need to be rehabbing. So there's a level 1 and a level 2. Do you remember, Thomas has a good way of remembering this, but do you know which is which? Which one do you just take your coat off, grab a sip of water and sit for a little bit and then go right back to work? Which one is that? Level 2. Yeah. That's right. Level 2. And I think, Thomas said the other day, a good way to remember that is like level 1 trauma is more serious, right? Level 2 is not as serious. So I think that's a good way to look at it. So let's flush out level 2 then. And this is right out of our SOG. For incidents lasting an hour or less, we'll probably just use level 2 rehab. So we're going to take off our coats. All the staff vehicles have lawn chairs and 5-gallon buckets and towels, so we can wet the towels and put them around your neck, and you can kind of wet yourselves down that way to help cool off. Rehydrating, so drinking water, rest at least 10 minutes. And like I said, the passive and active cooling. And again, pay attention to how you're feeling, how your partner's doing. Again, what's killing our firefighters? It's this overexertion and medical conditions. So we really need to do a good job of taking care of ourselves and our partners. So there's an oldie but a goodie. Well, I think that was 2009.
No, it's
2011.
it was after this fire over here. These apartments.
Cool.
Oh, I'm sorry. This was we were doing a study.
There.
Yeah,
We got big old beak sticking out of tail. That's cool.
Rhonda. Yeah, that was 2011. I think I might have sent you a text.
How is that now?
Butler did a study. We were guinea pigs.
Yeah.
The sea ship was.
Yeah, I think it was just a C-ship thing. Rhonda, Dr. Butler to me, but Brett's wife, Rhonda, was doing her, what's that? Yeah, that's right. That's right. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, 5-gallon buckets, towels. That's how we do that. Did you want to see that one more time? Okay. He appreciated that picture, not really. So let's look at level 1 rehab. So we're doing all the same stuff, taking off our PPE, rehydrating. Here we're going to look at some caloric intake, so eating some food, and medical assessment. And we'll look at what that form is going to look like here in just a second. Controlled release, back to the incident. And again, we're going to notify incident command if EMS is needed for one of our firefighters. I'm going to fast forward here one. So keep this. So picture this. We've got Lojano and Newhouse. They're coming out of a fire. They're going to rehab. We write down the time that they get into rehab, and then we take a set of vitals. So we're taking their blood pressure and their pulse rate, and we're looking at their carboxyhemoglobin. And here's the parameters. So if the systolic blood pressure is below 100 or above 160, if diastolic is above 100, or if the heart rate's above 100, after 10 minutes of being in rehab, they're not going anywhere. They're going to stay there until those vital signs come down and stabilize a little more. Our protocol also lists out some symptoms: nausea, dizziness, cramps, chest pain or inguinal equivalents, decreased LOC, and changes to speech, their gait, or how they're acting. So all of these things we need to be looking out for. And on larger incidents, we need 2 medic units assigned to our people. So one for a rehab unit and the other for a transport unit if needed for our folks. So we've got Heston with an engine and ambulance coming to town. We've got Halstead with an engine and a medic unit. And my understanding is Halstead is set up really well as a rehab unit. In fact, Chief Andy has said that if you need rehab, bring us to your scene, because we've got, and I thought maybe this was a DMSU thing, but this is.
Contact reported.
Bring his trailer, because as far as just a medic, I don't, their medic units are really set up for that.
Okay.
So, this for 3 units.
All right. Okay. And I don't know if you could hear Jared or not, but he was saying if we want Halstead as specifically a rehab unit, we'd have to request it and they could bring their trailer. And we did that over here on a C shift fire one summer. Yeah, right between Pine and Walnut. Yes. Right. Yes, right by there. I think they call it the Mandarin Death Trap, I think is what they called that. Yeah, and that was a hot day. Yeah.
We had to crawl through this fence line, and the way that we got through the fence was there was a shed right there. We broke open a back wall in the shed, crawled through the shed, and then you got into the backyard, and it was just like once you're in the backyard, there's fire everywhere. It's pretty cool.
It was awful because there was a stinking power line jumping around in the backyard, and we just had to sit there and yeah. But the reason I bring that call up is Halstead ended up bringing their tent and a bunch of rehab equipment, as well as community chaplain response team was requested. They came out and fed the guys and watered them, and then the recall guys showing up to help out. And that, especially this time of year, that gets really important to have guys responding to the request for secondary recall to help cycle people out and keep them safe, keep them healthy that way. Station 1, you guys can't see this, but you know, every medic unit, we used to have folders like this that had a rehab sheet like what you see on the screen. I looked in 2 and 12 and I couldn't find any of that. So by the end of this week, every medic unit will have these rehab sheets in them. And if we set up a level 1 rehab, I'm asking everybody to please be compliant with the rehab process. And I know you're all tough badasses and you don't need to take a break, but after a period of time, command is going to need to do a good job of making people go to rehab, having a set of vitals, time in, time out, recording what the blood pressure and the pulse rates are. You know, if we end up in one of these NIOSH line of duty death reports, I guarantee you they're going to be looking at that saying, well, what's your policy on incident rehab? Oh yeah. Well, did you do that on this one? Well, not really. No. So there's a reason we have the protocol and it's set up the way that it is. And of all the firefighter fatalities we looked at, that's the reason we want to prevent being in that boat. Any thoughts about that? Incident rehab, taking vitals. One other thing I would ask that you not be the guy that thumbs your nose at the person telling you, no, your pulse rate's too high. You need to stay a little bit longer. You need to listen to what they're saying and just do it. All right. And I'd say, if I was the guy taking vitals and somebody bailed on me and his pulse or blood pressure was too high, I wouldn't care. I'd go talk to incident command and say, hey, this cat's trying to go back to work and he's not ready yet. His vitals are still too high. So it's for their own good. You don't know it, but you might save their life by making them stay there a little bit longer. And last but not least, look at these little cuties. Huh? How long ago? That was a few years ago. Yeah. Yeah. Before you come to work. So you guys knew yesterday that when you came to work this morning, you're going to have to put some work in, right? You knew there was going to be live fire training. So did you avoid alcohol? Did you drink extra water the night before? Now, these are rhetorical questions, but please be thinking about that. The night before you come on duty, drink plenty of water, eat good food, get plenty of rest, so that your body's healthy and ready to go when you come to work.
Makes me wonder if there would ever be a doc that would recommend just taking a daily, like a baby aspirin if you're 45 and over. If it's heart attacks that's killing all these guys, if taking the simple aspirin maybe would help. I don't know.
Yeah.
And if it's at 45 years old that it really increases your risk. I mean,
5 years at least before that.
yeah.
Okay.
Started to shy away from that, didn't they?
Oh, really?
Because of other medical issues that it caused.
I'm not sure.
Thinking out loud.
There's just so many factors.
It does not. What?
He's having a heart attack. Let's say he's having a heart attack. He's
Yeah,
gonna live. Start running a call.
suicide myself.
It makes me think.
Slow your roll, Hillary.
Reading through more of these reports, they're out of shape. Their diets are poor. Pre-existing heart conditions, and so
I'm sure there's, yeah, plenty of other things to do ahead of time.
You headed in the right direction, Mike. Going that healthy lifestyle.
no, yeah.
Yeah, I did yesterday, some beer.
Healthy diet, regular exercise, get plenty of sleep. I'm sure that the doc, if you ask him, he'd probably say, well, why don't you do this first, and then we can talk about it. I don't know. Station one, you guys, we got to get your wisdom. What else you want to talk about before we shut this down?
Lots of sleep.
Yes.
Sleep is good.
You do know how to unplug the bells out there, right? Run them all day, sleep all night.
Let's hope
Hey,
for that.
Chief. Does the incident commander say when we're doing a level 1 or 2 rehab, or is that up to the rehab unit to decide that?
Yeah, give me 1 second and we'll talk about it.
Transfer to medical center to Hutch Regional for higher level of care, and also looking for.
Are you eating chips right now?
Nothing good ever came out of that.
Kyle, you bring some chips?
Good for you.
It's good for you.
Eternally.
Wake up, Arjun.
I'll support your healthy life.
What's that?
Being healthy, I think we have some behavior on Taco Mike. That's all.
Okay. All right.
Let him know I said that.
Okay. Trevor, we'll get to that question because you made me think of something that I forgot to talk about. But Thomas just left on a call, but he wanted to talk about healthy eating and avoiding Taco Mike's catering. So
All lies.
Yeah, you can text him your response to that if you like. But so in the slides I mentioned, if it's an incident lasting over an hour or projected to last over an hour, we'll set up a level 1 rehab. But what if it's today and it's 95 degrees out and 79% humidity? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd say
I like one.
The way you are and you drench your, I know you probably will, you know, that's probably a good indicator. If you're bunked up, your guys are probably going to be suffering, so.
I agree. I think ultimately it's incident command's job to pay attention to that, be proactive and set that up early. But every dude on that scene has a responsibility for their health and the health of their partner. So if it's time to take a break, absolutely we'll take a break. But the level 1 rehab part, I think that's the incident command needs to call for those resources and get that set up. Okay. Another thing that our protocol talks about is accountability. And that's why I had you guys pulling tags today. And for one, to make sure everybody still has an accountability tag. And two, just get that at the front of your mind. Because years back when we first started using accountability tags, when you went to a level 2 or a level 1 rehab, you had to go to command, get your tag, take it to rehab.
Transfer to West Regional Hospital.
And that's how you checked in and checked out. When you were released from rehab, then you took your accountability tag back to command, and they knew that you were back in play. And that's I think pretty important when we're trying to track who's been to rehab and who has not. So
Makes sense.
you ask what time it is, and I tell you how to build a watch. Any other questions? All right. Thanks, guys, for tuning in, and thanks for your good hard work this morning.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks, Chief.
Take the rest of the night off. Don't go anywhere.
Yay.